Why did I say? A couple of hours, a weekend's work. It's an old Ford. They dissolve as you watch them. Oh, God, what am I going to do with this? How you doing? You all right? Right. What we're doing this time is we're going to steam into, trying to put this thing back together. So, yeah, stick around. Let's see what we can break. What we've got is we've got the new battery tray. So what I have done, I've sort of jumped ahead a little bit, but I laid the new part in place. Got it pretty much where it needed to be. And I've marked around it with a sort of a paint pen. Normally on most cars you could use like a Sharpie or something like that, but being a black car, using a black Sharpie doesn't really help matters. What this does is it allows me to see any other repairs that I might need to look at doing prior to putting the battery tray in. I mean, we've got this little area here which I'm going to need to repair. There's a bit of repair that's going to be needed around here, and I need to remove an old battery tray that was already in place. It's already had a new battery tray at some point in the car's past, and that one has since failed. So what we're going to do is grind away a lot of the original welds, take out as much of the old panel as possible, and then fit the new panel. But with drawing round with a paint marker, what it allows me to do allows me to see how much material I've got. So as you can see, we've got quite a bit over here coming up onto the bulkhead. It gets quite close to where the rot is, but we've still got some material that we can do things with. So fingers crossed, once I've made right what's wrong here, we might be able to get a new tray in. What I am going to do to remove some of the spot welds, or not, they're not spot welds, they're sort of seam welds as it were. Normally you'd get in there with a grinder or a die grinder or something like that, but it's a bit of a tight area to work in. So what I have actually bought is I bought a finger file or a small belt sander, which will allow me to get in there and clean the areas out. So what I'll do is I'll clean away some of the metal material, and then I'll bring you back in so you can have a better look at it. As you can see, just along here, this is a welded part of the second battery tray that this car will have had in its life. This bit here is part of that as well, but as you can see underneath it, the original lip of the bulkhead, this is part of it here, runs along here, has corroded, rotted away. All they've basically done is just stuck the tray over it, and not worried about the hole that's here. So what I'm going to do is grind these welds away here, which will allow me to get in better to repair this area before I put the new tray in. Likewise, as you can see there, I'm going to have to do a repair around this area here. There's a bit of a repair that I'm going to have to do around here before we can put the new battery tray in. What my aim is, sorry if I'm moving the camera around a bit. My aim is once I've got this area repaired along here with a new lip, I can then spot weld. So the battery tray will look nice and original, and you can make a nice job of it. What my plans are in here, I don't know what my plans are yet, to be brutally honest. What my plans are here is I may try and tie the two in nicely and butt weld it. But the problem is, as you may have already noticed, is the new panel. What happens over the years is that the presses start getting a bit tired, so they don't press out as nice as what the originals were like. So you have to do a bit of fettling, you have to do a bit of tweaking it to make them match up. So what I might do is try and get it as good as possible and get it in place. This here is part of the original one as well, because you can just see along here where my finger is, you can just see that's a seam weld, so that's part of the original panel as well. Now we're going to do a bit of grinding now. So what a lot of YouTubers out there that do anything with metal will tell you is PPE is primer, you know, the most important thing. We need to keep these, and we need to keep these. So, I mean, I'm quite lucky. You know, I'm as you can see, I'm no spring chicken, but I managed to acquire a special pair of sort of eye gear a while ago. I've just got these. These are safety squints. So if you've got some of these, you don't really need glasses or goggles or anything like that. These are a special order, so they're really, really important, really clever. But if you haven't got these, unfortunately, you will need a pair of eye goggles. Ideally, you want something for your ears, stop you going deaf, but that happened to me a long time ago, so we won't worry about that. And we got a pair of gloves. So I'm going to stick a bit of PPE in, keeps the missus happy. Actually, she'd probably be more happy if I didn't wear PPE and something serious happened, but hey ho. Just a little update. I don't believe it. This is a 1990 Ford, and I've actually found some good metal. What I've actually started doing, as you can see, is sort of straightening the edges up. I've removed that panel now, and surprise, surprise, it's revealed. Yeah, at least you can check the tyre tread depth through the arch now, which is probably a useful addition. But as you can see, I've started chopping away a lot of the original battery tray, which is going to let me get to the point where I can lay the new battery tray in to sort of start repairing. This lip here, I'm going to have to replace, so it sort of lines up with this one, follows along, comes along. And looking at it, there was an original lip here that would have met up with this one, and then this panel would have probably come down and met this panel, and the battery tray would have sat over the top. So what I'm going to have to do is replace this. Well, firstly, I'm going to have to replace this along here. And then secondly, we're going to have to let in a new piece of inner arch, which will then allow us to drop the battery tray in. I don't know how high I'm going to come up here, purely for the reason is as it gets into the corner, as you can see, it starts getting a little bit ripe again. If I worked hard at it, I could probably end up making another hole there, and it would probably spread up here. It's going to need to happen because we don't want to sort of be repeating ourselves on this in a couple of years' time. I've started removing this lip. All I've got to do now is just get rid of the weld line that's along here. So let me know if you want to see me sort of grinding, because the way I see it is when I watch a lot of YouTube videos, it tends to get a little bit boring. So if it's something that you want to see, you know, me grinding, cutting out bits, I'll gladly include that in some of the upcoming videos. But if you would prefer to see, you know, what it looks like before and then in stages as I'm chopping things out, as long as I'm keeping you in the loop, let me know if that's good as well. Of course, you're going to see what it looks like in its worst case halfway through and then finished. But if you would like to sort of come along with me on the journey, as it were, as we start chopping bits out, I can also do that. But yeah, just drop me a comment if that's the sort of thing you'd want to see. And I will start including that in the future. Many hours later, I've only got this far. The big problem is, as you start chopping out metal, you find how bad it actually is. So yeah, what I'll do now is I'll lay the battery tray back in, and I'll actually show you round at how big the holes actually got. Because if you remember initially, when I laid the battery tray in, you could, well, there's my original paint line. You know, you could see that there wasn't that much that needed more work. But give me a second, I'll lay the panel back in and you'll see what I mean. It's not as bad as I thought, just looking at it with the paneling. But the problem is now we've got lots of sort of extra additional gaps. Oh no. Oh, Jesus Christ, help me. mate, it started like a little tiny hole, as you know. Let's drop this in. As you can see, we're getting better. We're starting to see clean metal, no more rust holes. But the problem we've got, you can now pretty much check your tyre tread depth from inside the car, and potentially top your brake fluid up as well. Joys. Right, what I'm going to do is, this panel is oversized, so what I'm going to do is start just trimming it back slightly. And as you can see, what I've done is I've laid it in place, and I'm using this here as a datum point because I know that that passes through. So I'm going to trim off any unwanted steel because it's all good under here. So it basically just means I'm not repairing such a massive panel. So I'm going to trim that piece off, which will save me a bit of space. And then I'm just going to start having a look around there, just chopping the panel down just to make it fit a bit better. There you go. See, now I'm using this as a datum point, but now because all this is good metal, it lets this panel sit a bit flatter. It used to bounce before, but now it's sitting flatter. I'm going to have to do a repair around here, which will allow me then to spot weld down. It'll look a bit more factory. Right, what I've done now is you see you've got this panel here. Well, when I lay the new battery tray in, as you can see, it doesn't quite meet its requirements. It doesn't quite cover that hole. So what I've actually done is I've made up, using cardboard. You can actually, if you can see that, you can actually almost replicate the shape of what you need. And it's a lot easier with cardboard than it would be to try and shape it directly out of metal. But as you can see now, if I lay that in, it pretty much mirrors that panel perfectly. So then if I were to do that when I lay the battery tray back in, it's covered up that gap perfectly. So what I'm going to do now is I'll straighten this back out. I'll lay it out on a piece of metal, then I can shape it and we can start getting it stitched in, get the hot metal glue gun out and start sticking it back in the hole. So I started life as a bit of cardboard, which I basically manipulated to make that shape. I've now gone from that to this. And as you can see, we've got all the contours, so it matches this. So when I lay it in now, we get a nice panel line. It may need a little bit of tweaking, but yeah, once that's in and stitched into place, what I've got to do, as you can see, the heater box is dragging this panel down slightly, so all I need to do is just bring it up. So as I add that piece in, we've got, it all lines up quite nicely. So the ironic thing about it is you will never see this because the heater box goes over it. So I suppose if you wanted to be really brutal and a bit bodgy, you could just weld it directly over it and forget about it, because the heater box sits over here with the heater blower motor and everything. Right, as you can see, I have welded along here now, welded along that edge. There is actually 3 spot welds in here, so this panel is now secured to this lip. This will need a bit more dressing up, but like I say, you can see the remnants of what was a double-sided seal there, and the heater box goes in this area, so you're never likely to see this bit. You're only likely to see this bit. Now I have got to do, as you can see, a localized repair there, which I will deal with in a bit. But now what I'm going to do is, I've got this little panel here, with, as you can see, there's a little return lip on it, and this panel is going to go just in here, which will allow me to continue the lip along. Eventually I'll bring you further into this way, but what I'm doing at the moment is I'm just rebuilding all the lips and all the leading edges so we can drop the battery tray in, and once the battery tray's in, it's got something to purchase to. Right, what we're going to start doing now is repairing this panel. I know there's a big hole here that's underneath, but what I'm looking at doing is, once I've got this repaired, I know where this panel needs to come up to, because it's going to need to come up to this lip here. Get my arm out of the way, it would make it a bit easier. Needs to come up to this lip here. So what I've actually done at the moment is made a repair panel that I can let in, very roughly, and what that will do, it extends this lip along, which will then join up with this lip. As you can see, there's a bit of a gap, there's a bit of a Bluetooth moment there, but once this is in, it will allow me to join this panel up to the bottom of this one. The reason why I haven't done it yet is that is something I can do when I'm inside the car, because I've got to do floor pans. This will be able to be closed in when I'm in the car. I could even get to it from under the arch, as you can see. So yeah, that's the plan. Once I've got that done, I can build this area, clean up all this back edge and along here, and then potentially the battery trays are looking ready to go in. Here we go. We have now got a new lip, all in. It's been weld through primered at the moment. It's all repaired and ready to go for the new panel to be laid in. There is that hole still there that's underneath, but I can deal with that afterwards. Once I'm doing the floor pans, I'll actually deal with that area. But what I'm about to do now is I'll weld the battery tray in, and then I'll bring you back for a final look. Right, that's battery tray in, little lip repair just here. That's all done. Now I've moved on to cutting out sections on the scuttle. So if you'd like to wait, or keep joining me for the next vlogs, I'll be moving on to the other side now, where the wiring loom passes through, as well as the windscreen aperture. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this one. If you can remember to like, subscribe and share, that helps my channel grow, which is it's doing quite well so far for only two videos. This will be my third one, so thank you for watching, and stick around and I'll see you soon. Thank you. Bye.